former US President Donald Trump is suing Congress and the National Archives in an effort to limit their access to White House files that would detail his communications around the time of the January 6th Capitol riot. The lawsuit comes as a House committee votes tonight on whether to hold former advisor Steve Bannon in contempt for ignoring their subpoena. Here to break it all down for us is Elizabeth Wydra from the Constitutional Accountability Centre. Elizabeth, nice to see you. Before we come to Steve Bannon, let's deal with the case brought by the former President Donald Trump, because he's suing the committee because he says his White House records and indeed his private conversations with Steve Bannon are protected by executive privilege. Are they?
Well, certainly not under any type of precedent or legal understanding that we've had before this suit. You know, executive privilege normally is something that applies to the sitting president. And here we have a situation where the sitting president, President Joe Biden, has agreed to release the records that then President Trump amassed during his time in the White House related to the January 6th insurrection. But former President Trump is going against the current sitting president's understanding of what executive privilege means and wants to block the release of those documents. So we've never before had a situation where a former president is asserting executive privilege in conflict with the current sitting president's understanding of executive privilege. This is an entirely new argument that former President Trump is putting forth to try to block the information about what he was doing, what he was talking about, what role he may have had in inciting the January 6th insurrection, what role he might have played in providing information or false conspiracy theories that fomented the violence that occurred on January 6th. And, you know, these novel legal theories that his lawyers put forth in court on Monday, while they will likely be ultimately found to lack merit in the courts, simply by filing this lawsuit, he can throw a significant wrench in the very important operations of the January 6th Select Committee, which is looking into the urgent question of what happened leading up to that day and how they prevent another insurrection or more violence from happening.
And of course, it has a bearing on the decision that Steve Bannon is taking, now a private citizen, of course. He says, I can't give evidence to this committee until I know whether this executive privilege issue has been resolved. What do you make of that defense?
I mean, as outlandish as Trump's arguments are with respect to his assertion of executive privilege, it's even worse when you look at Steve Bannon's arguments that he shouldn't have to give evidence to the Select Committee based on executive privilege. Steve Bannon had long left the White House at the time of the January 6th insurrection. He was not a White House employee. And so the idea that his communications should be protected are ridiculous. Now, of course, he does say...
But here's the issue. If they vote tonight for a criminal proceeding to refer it to the courts, then clearly this will then be referred to the Department of Justice, and the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, has a decision to make. The trouble is that the DOJ is not in the habit of upholding criminal referrals from Congress. So there's an important moment upon us, isn't there?
Yes, you're exactly right. It is an important moment. And, you know, Attorney General Garland is fairly conservative in a lot of his institutionalist decisions. But I think the facts here are so strong in favor of holding Bannon in criminal contempt, going after him for criminal contempt, because it's absolutely clear, given the facts before the Select Committee and why they want to hear from Bannon, that they have the authority to get him to testify before them. And by completely disregarding the congressional subpoena, it undermines Congress's ability here and in other instances. You know, we're talking about a really important question to American democracy. And so I think the Attorney General will see that for the serious and very persuasive case it is for criminal contempt here for Steve Bannon.
Elizabeth Wydra, good to get your expertise. Thank you very much.
Thank you.